Hello, new wave of British Heavy Metal.com here today. It's the 11th of March 2024. Quick request if I can make that for of you please, and that's if I could ask you to subscribe to the channel please. That'd be great, big help if you would do that. So please do click the button if you would. Okie dokie, Judas Priest, their latest album released just a few days ago, Invincible Shield. So let's take a look at that here in March 2024. And, it's Judas Priest's 19th studio album, would you believe? And interestingly, it does in the booklet list Glenn Tipton in the lineup, sharing guitar duty with Richie Faulkner. Though, of course, poor old Glenn's was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease a few years ago, wasn't he? And it's great that he can still play to some extent, but you wonder, and be able to contribute this. But you'd assume that Richie Faulkner is doing the lion's share of the guitar work. But good on Glenn for still being able to contribute after all those years in the band. But before I tell you what I think about Invincible Shield, indulge me in a little bit of historical context. Now, I go back with Judas Priest all the way back to 1978 with Stay in Class, and I can still remember purchasing that album from a large Asda store, which was close to where I lived in South Yorkshire at the time, and it had a very small record section. But I nipped over there hoping that Stay in Class would be then, and it was. So I bought that, what an album that is, and to this day, some 46 years or so later, Stay in Class remains an album that I listen to frequently. And indeed, as I still do with Sad Wings of Destiny, Sin After Sin, Killing Machine, or depending on where you're from, Hell Bent for Leather, what a run of classic albums they were and still are. British Steel, I thought that wasn't as good as it was hyped up to be. It's okay, but it's average, in my opinion. I very much like to follow up to that point of entry. And then again, this is just my opinion. I bought Screaming for Vengeance, and it sounded rather samey to me and rather just generic. And I didn't buy another Judas Priest album until Angel of Retribution in 2005. That didn't do much for me. Neither did going to see him on that tour. I thought they were terrible, and we left early. But here we are, say it's some 19 years later, it's 2024, and I decided that I would buy Invincible Shield. I admit that was mainly out of curiosity, though I did promise myself I'd give it a fair crack of the proverbial whip and listen to it with an open mind. I've done just that a good few times, and here's what I think, and remember, it's just my opinion, and there we go, because we all have an opinion, and some are, well, you might agree or you might not. So what did I think of Invincible Shield? First 4 tracks, I think they are rather generic, cookie cutter, interchangeable heavy metal with no imagination. They all sound the same to me and follow a template of riff, similar solo, another riff, and more or less identical drum patterns. Halford's vocals, though, however, very strong indeed. I mean, the guy still sounds great, can hit the high notes. So, but everything else doesn't do it for me on those first 4 tracks. Next up come Gates of Hell and Crown of Thorns. Now, these 2 songs, both, again, to me, classic Priest. I was thinking back to those classic 1970s days. Much more variation goes on here, they're more strongly written than those opening 4 tracks. Some imagination, some variation in with the power, and it's all delivered at a better pace, which builds in some melody as well. The vocals are toned down a bit, which help with the atmospheric feel of the songs. And overall, I think those two songs are a more, if you will, a more mature approach, right? Next up, 4 more generics that, again, they come and go as one. I just can't tell them apart, really. But then the closer, Giants in the Sky, that does rescue things for me to some extent, and it made me think a little bit. It had some similarities with, say, Victim of Changes from all those years ago. However, saying that, along comes that mid-section Spanish flamenco style acoustic break, and that sounds very much out of place to me. I wanted to like Invincible Shield more than I do. I was hoping that Priest may redeem, forgive me a slightly related pun, redeem themselves in my mind, although that's not happened at all. Well, bar 3 tracks, it's not happened. Maybe I'm getting too old now, and like Spinal Tap's appeal becoming more selective. Perhaps that's happening to my listing preferences as I get older. But you know, there we are. So to summarise, Invincible Shield, in my opinion, it lacks variation and inspiration, and largely relies on a formulaic approach. It's steady, not spectacular. No doubt it'll sell very well, of course. It'll be lapped up and sell by the Pantechnicon load. And you know, all well and good for the band having success for what, five decades or so now, and still ploughing on. You know, Alfred's still there, Tipton, Ian Hill, etc. But for me, I'll regress now back to the 1970s and go and spin up Sad Wings of Destiny and Stained Class again and again and again. The Invincible Shield, not for me. It probably will be for you if you're a Judas Priest fan, but I prefer the 70s, thanks. So that's Invincible Shield. If you do like it or think you'd like it, I'll as usual put a link in the description below to it on Amazon, so you can go and get whatever format you like. But it's not for me. Next up, I've got, if you remember him from the Nawabum days, I've got Amiga's album from back then, The Prophet, that's just been now reissued by High Roller. So I'll review that up next, and leave Invincible Shield for that. But please do subscribe to the channel before you go. That would be marvellous. And as always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and take care.